Hey there, StarCraft fans! It's Paladin coming at ya with yet another edition of StarCraft 2, A Legacy of the Void. Today it's going to be Clem versus ByuN on Berlingrad, and yes, I am under the weather, you can tell by my voice. Apparently it's time for my annual upper respiratory infection. I've been getting these since at least 2015 or so, around this time of year, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on. But hopefully I should be good by next week. Alright, so it's a TVT here on Berlingrad, young versus old. ByuN is an incredible StarCraft 2 player, but he's on his way down, I feel like, and Clem is on his way up. So let's see who's going to come out on top here. And... we didn't do selected. Alright, so... hopefully my voice will not give out on me, but so double refinery for both of these players, and I do like early game TVT. You can see pretty much every single unit: Marines, Marauders, Ravens, Siege Tanks, Banshees, Liberators, Hellions, Hellbats, Medivacs. Like, am I missing anything else here? Vikings are part of it too. It's crazy. Like, battle cruisers are not viable here. I guess Thors aren't really either because they just take so long to get out. But like every other unit in the Terran arsenal is available in this opening TVT sequence. It's crazy to me, and I love that part about TVT. Now, when TVT gets into like the later game and you start getting huge tank lines and it takes forever to kill anything and the games go for 45 minutes, that's less of a something that I'm super interested in, but I do need to cast one of those one of these days. But for now, we're just going to get something. We'll see how long this game goes. And whether or not we get Reaper versus Reaper here. And yeah, ByuN's going for a Reaper and Clem isn't. Interesting. So ByuN's the one who usually doesn't, who is more likely to not get a Reaper. But today Clem says, I don't need it. I'm good. So Reaper name's going to be He Hate Me. This Reaper is a fickle one. He plucks bits of faux leather off of his gloves. He hates me not. He hates me not. If you understand what this is, you're a boomer. Ah, who recognizes what that's a reference to? It's a fairly recent thing that happened on the channel, I mean, in the last couple months or so. Anyway, Reaper's going to show up. Oh, Clem's going multiple Reapers. You know what's better than one Reaper? That's right. Reapers a dos. Oh, but look at this. Clem, he's going to lose an SCV. I love that. Love that from ByuN. He delays the expansion timing. Meanwhile, his expansion's coming up nice and awesome. And on the other side, Reapers are out. So we're going to name this Reaper Bollywood. Emperor Mence decided he was in the mood for something exotic and looked up space Bollywood movies. He watched in confusion at the casual feats of superhuman ability, the melodrama, and the musical numbers in otherwise serious films. He had two options: either accept he lacked the cultural context to appreciate the films, or send all of Bollywood to the Reaper program out of spite. Guess which option he chose? Yep. So we got Bollywood here versus He Hate Me. Hey, revenge is a dish not served cold. That is hot revenge right there. Oh, is it Hellion out too? That's what I'm talking about. Hellion doing stuff. KD8 charge is getting dodged. And it looks like ByuN's going to be... oh, ByuN's actually going to win this battle. Oh, that Hellion did not get a shot off for Clem, but more Reapers back home. Look at this. He's just going all the Reapers right now. And all the Hellions right now. There's a starport coming in too, because of course there is starport here from ByuN as well. I mean, this is what I love. The chaos of early game TVT. There's a I didn't even mention Cyclones in the list of Terran units. Cyclones are viable too, in case you were wondering. You're like, fucking didn't say Cyclones. Are Cyclones viable now? And they are, yes. Definitely. There's a Banshee coming up from ByuN. This is so good. So good. So viable. All of the units. And that's what I love about StarCraft 2, is so many of the units are viable in every single matchup. It's insane. Look at this. This isn't mass Reaper. This isn't 5-Rack Reaper shenanigans from like 2018, but this is a lot of Reapers. But guess what? There's a Cyclone here and a Hellion, and yeah, Clem may have chosen poorly there. Cyclones are amazing against Reapers, and turns out the Reapers are not good against Cyclones, so very sad stuff. But natural base coming in here from both players. Done now for both players. Siege tanks on the way for both players. Did I even say siege tanks? I don't think I even said siege tanks. There's too many units available, and all of them are doable here. There's a Raven. I told you about Ravens. And the thing is, there's not a normal comp here either. It's not like you have to open Siege Tank, Cyclone, Hellion, right? You can open up Liberator, Viking, Cyclone, Marine. Like, It doesn't matter, almost, what you go for. It's kind of a crapshoot. But also recognizing what your opponent is doing is a big deal. And we're passing in the night here, everybody. This could turn into a pretty insane situation. And what the heck is killing... Oh, the Banshee made it across the map from ByuN. Dude, ByuN is killing it right now. But Clem shows up at the front door. Siege tank on the high ground, getting some decent hits off. He goes down to enemy fire here. Another siege tank on the high ground and trying to win, but taking shots is not good. But on the other side, this Banshee casually has 12 total kills. Finally, a Viking, a couple of Vikings wipe it out. But it's 16 workers killed by ByuN here against Clem, but this siege tank is unstoppable. 9 kills. Finally, the Marines are going to finish it, maybe? No! Oh, the auto turret manages to take it down. Oh, Reapers fighting against auto turrets is not something you want to see there at all. Dude, this is absolutely insane stuff. This is why I love the TVT. Both players losing about 17 workers in the first 5 minutes. It's 18 to 17 workers killed. No mining is going on at the natural base of Clem. ByuN has some mining happening here, sure, but there's a Reaper in the mix here. Bollywood is still down here. Bollywood's got 6 total kills. That's crazy. Oh, then he gets picked up by the medevac and saved before the auto turret kills him. Bollywood, you're doing awesome. He Hate Me's already dead. He Hate Me died a while ago. But yeah, damage done on both ends here, so nobody really has an advantage. Like, it's got to be frustrating to be all, yeah, I killed, 17 SCVs of my opponents in the first 8 minutes. How many? Like 5 minutes. How many did you lose? Well, yeah, about 18. So, so we're just resetting then. Yes, I suppose we are. 32 to 34 workers, 2 base to 2 base. Yep, Marines out from both players. Backbones of the army here. Ravens for auto turrets. And interference matrices on enemy tanks is also very good too. And just, it's scrappy. Early game TVT is scrappy. You really can't just kind of set up. Oh, nice snipe on that Cyclone, though. You can't just set up and get a quick 3 bases like you can against Zerg. Your third base is going to be delayed, obviously, as we're seeing we're 7 minutes in and neither player even has a third CC yet. So finally, they're working on their third CCs, but they're not done and they're not landed. That's way later than we'll see them in other matchups. So just because the aggression is really viable and your timing for that third base expansion is going to be a lot later, just how it is. So are we kind of settling into a Marine tank Viking play? It sure seems like Clem is. ByuN on the other side kind of doing the same thing. Like production, Vikings, tanks, Marines, stim. So the craziness is now over. We're going to see some tank lines getting set up. Or, I don't know, maybe we're going to see kind of a strong push moving out from one of these players and catch the other one off guard. Maybe they tried macroing too hard and they're going to die, right? Sometimes that happens in TVT. Little Marine versus Marine action down here, and this guy's got 1 kill and 3 HP, and he is dead. He's absolutely sniped from distance there by ByuN's Marine. So third base going to land for ByuN and ahead of Clem's, obviously. I don't know. Like, who do we think is going to come out on top here? We do love ByuN a lot. And it feels bad for me to say he's kind of on his way down, but, like, I also kind of feel like it's accurate. Just, it happens to everybody. It happens to all the legends of StarCraft. Is eventually you just get a little bit older, your reflexes slow down, you can't play as fast as you used to be able to, and that's just the reality. So ByuN moving out, army value is virtually even, 39 to 37 at this stage. Nobody has any kind of an advantage here. Tank count is currently 5 to 4, which is an important thing to keep track of. But Clem's third base is landing now, where ByuN's is already established. He's got 9 SCVs there, and he's upgrading it to an orbital. Scans are pretty consistent. It can be hard to hide stuff from your opponent in TVT, at least once you start getting a couple orbitals out, because the scans are so consistent that teching into something your opponent doesn't see is very hard to do. Like, you can't just tech into battle cruisers and then your opponent's like, oh, battle cruisers, I guess I lose. Not really something that happens. And even, like, army position movements, scans are so good. They're so good here. Look, anti-armor missile goes in, catches those Vikings. They're taking extra damage from enemy Vikings now. And I don't know about turning around here, but okay, we're just losing Viking for Viking, 1 for 1. Just kind of thinning those ranks down. It's 3 to 4 Vikings. Clem's going to back on off because of the anti-armor missile for sure, but that was interesting trades that we were seeing there at least. But yeah, we're working on combat shield. There's a Liberator coming in. Liberators can be good, past the early game, they're pretty darn good against siege tanks. You can get a Liberator on top of a group of tanks and start wailing away at them. It's a good way to deal with the tank line of your enemy. You just have to worry about enemy Vikings shutting that down, which is why air is so important. We got an interference matrix on 3 of the siege tanks for Clem here. SCVs coming in here to fight. Can they do it is the question. Siege tank does go down for ByuN. Continuing to fire away. 19 SCVs for Clem have died, and this is what I'm talking about. These weird timing attacks. You catch 3 of the siege tanks, remove them from the battle. 21 SCVs die for Clem. I don't know that he needed to bring them down and sacrifice them, but it's 62 to 48 workers in favor of ByuN right now, and this is just absolutely sick plays from the former world champion here, from the GSL champ. Yeah, third base has to lift. This is nothing but bad for Clem right now. All of a sudden, tank count is 6 to 3. Clem has a higher tank count. That's an 8-kill siege tank and a 10-kill siege tank there. But yeah, the refinery getting killed here. Just kind of wandering up. ByuN does. Snipes down. I don't even know what that was. What did he just kill there? Air superiority does kind of belong to Clem here now, and it does. So that is big. Your siege tanks can shoot farther than they can naturally see. We talk about that a lot in TVTs especially. And having Vikings out to spot for those siege tanks is super important and has been really the case since Brood War. Since the early games of Brood War, TVTs have used the same strategy of spotting ahead for siege tanks. Vikings didn't exist, but Wraiths did. And floating a barracks out, right, over a tank line does the same thing, providing that extra vision. So yeah, ByuN's got a 4th base coming in. Clem is retaking a 3rd down the left side here, not taking the original location. And trying to push away ByuN, get him out of his neighborhood here. It's Clem landing the Vikings. Bonus damage versus mechanical. Vikings are pretty good against siege tanks in certain situations, and that was one of them preferred. But reinforcements here from ByuN. It's 35 to 29 army supply. Siege tanks trying to kill enemy tanks. Nicely fired there by ByuN. Marines are pretty good against siege tanks in lower numbers of tanks. That's exactly what's going on there. And the siege tank count is 3 to 3 right now. It's been an absolute tank bloodbath so far. 8 tanks have died for both players in the first 12 minutes. Those tanks are not free, man, but Marines continuing to push here. ByuN does not have a massive... He does have a massive army advantage at 50 to 25 right now. He has double the army value. But breaking an enemy turn when he's got his own tanks is very tricky to do. Interference Matrix helps a lot with that. ByuN decides just to pick the heck up and go right on into Clem's main base and just unload there. What? Okay, so he's just going to unload in here. Enemy siege tank trying... Nope, enemy siege tank down. Marines trying to fire in as well. Siege tank getting some big-time hits off. Marines defending as well as they can. Defender's advantage kicks in additional. Marines do show up here. Viking gets rid of the siege tank, but the Marines are fighting against Vikings with medevac support. And actually, the Marines win that battle, so 13 more SCVs die. It's 73 to 51 total workers. ByuN has to reposition this 4th base, but his income is awesome. It's very red for the last 5 minutes, according to that income tab. So, fantastic plays here from ByuN. He's making good trades. That attack in the main base didn't win or anything, but it definitely, I think, killed more stuff than he lost. Resources lost here pretty even. 13.8 thousand for Clem. 13.4 thousand for ByuN. Additional starports coming in. Another drop. More starports from ByuN, actually. Interesting. So just unloading a little Marine group here. They're horribly outnumbered, but they can't really run here either, so they're going to stand and fight as much as they can and kill what they can, but it's not going to be a lot. They're going to lead Clem on a merry chase. And this guy is going to end up with 0 kills, which is not a distinguished military career, but hey. He was in action. He risked his life. He died for ByuN's army, so he will be recognized one day. Probably. Okay, let's not lie. Marines are pretty expendable in TVT. I like this long-distance mining Clem's doing from this refinery. He's like, might as well get some of it here. It's 71 to 58 army supply, so it's not double army supply anymore, but man, ByuN is just like, you're not successfully like defending your main base at all, so we're just going to keep dropping in. Taking down, there you go, nice target fire on that reactor. Production capabilities are delayed here for sure. And then just kind of marching right on in. Wow. Okay, so Clem says, I have 1 million Marines. Get out of my house. 81 to 68 total supply. 4th base is happily running. There's all that gas coming in here too. ByuN is macroing like a boss. He's working on the 3-3, where Clem is still working on the 2-2, but they'll both be on 2-2 here fairly soon. But there is an upgrade advantage that is here for ByuN for the time being. How long that's going to last, we don't know. Corvid Reactor from ByuN for that Raven energy extra capability there. And he's just, you know, we're just going to keep doing this, I guess. I mean, there's an enemy siege tank here who fires at us from distance every time we try, so we're just going to unload, take down a supply depot, and then really just kind of keeping Clem at home. Oh, these medevacs, though. Unload. Unload now. Okay, does. Manage to pull that off. ByuN taking another base. I think ByuN just has this game well in hand right now. I do. And it's more and more Ravens. Interference Matrix, such a big deal. Anti-armor missile, such a big deal in this matchup. We do see both of those in TVP, but really, I think we see most of those spellcasts in TVT. Not by, like, a huge margin, but I think most of them for sure. Now, who wants to kill this debris? Who wants to get rid of this choke and have a more wide-open attack area? I don't know. But Clem, I mean, this is how monstrous and incredible Clem is. He's lost 55 SCVs to 19 SCVs for ByuN, and it doesn't matter. Like, his army value is 103 to 107. It's very comparable to ByuN's right now, but this income tab does not lie, and it's all red all the time for the last 5 minutes or so. Clem has not been able to get a 4th base, even in ByuN's 5th base is almost done. I mean, Clem's marching back and forth, but ByuN just keeping him in check, watching him everywhere he goes, making sure if he makes a beeline for some base, he's going to be ready to intercept it. That's exactly what this is. Tank's heading to the south while Clem's heading to the south. Just being like, you have to engage with us if you're going to go on attack. And here it is. He's going to try to set up at this base, but then the air superiority here belongs to ByuN. Very nicely done. That said, there's a forced liftoff. All right, so the siege tanks did siege up, but high ground advantage is here to Clem. The command center's got to go, so that's a big victory for Clem. Like, knocking it down to a 4 base. Oh, his 4th base is done now for Clem. Evening up the base count. What an absolute legend this kid is. He's so good. He just manages to come right down. I'm talking about how much ByuN is marking him and watching him and trying to stop him from attacking anything, but Clem's just like, we're just going to go for it. And he goes for it, and it works out, and he gets a 4th base in the meantime, and he is still down on economy, but it doesn't seem to bother him all that much. And another drop coming down here to the south, dropping right on top of them. Siege tanks, couple free siege tanks there. And by free, I mean definitely. A couple Marines died for that, but hey. Again, cannon fodder. Their cannon fodder in this matchup maybe more than any other. Although, I don't know, Banelings would have something to say about that, wouldn't they? So this drop goes terribly for Clem. I'm not sure where else he was supposed to go. But he comes down and forces a liftoff at ByuN's 5th base again. Anti-armor missile, beautiful connections there, and interference matrix is up. Oh, those tanks can't even fight back. 2 more interference matrices, more dead siege tanks. Defenseless dead siege tanks here. 19 tanks have died for Clem, only 16 for ByuN, but it's very close nevertheless. So it just goes to speak of how well Clem is playing in 2022. That again, he loses 55 SCVs and is able to hold for another 10 minutes. It's crazy stuff. And this is looking moderately bad all of a sudden, though. Yeah, another siege tank down. We've got a counterattack from Clem. Is he gonna... I don't know what we're doing here. It's like we're just going for a base trade kind of thing. Nah, Clem's coming home. Clem's coming home, but there's siege tanks sieged up, and you can't... Okay, so he just sieges in range there. Takes a hit. Okay, loses a siege tank, but 3 more SCVs die. Marines chasing him in, and GG, good luck. Clem taps out, and ByuN defeats him in 18 minutes and 49 seconds. ByuN, he's still got it, man. Look at Clem with the good manner. I think that knocked him out of Katowice. And he still says good luck to ByuN. What an absolutely well-mannered kid he is. Look, he's 18. He's an adult now, but I think for most of us StarCraft fans, 18 is pretty young. But, yeah, I mean, that was... And it really just came down to the early attacks, right? The early stuff, that big attack that ByuN was able to get here on this 3rd base, killing it, killing the refinery, killing a bunch of siege tanks. The interference matrix on this ramp was beautiful. And from there, it was, I mean, Clem, did he overreact by bringing SCVs down and attacking into these tanks? Maybe, yeah, maybe it was. And that's part of the 65 to 25 SCV kill death count that Clem is dealing with in this game. That's just so hard. And the fact that he survived for 8 minutes past that incident is dead impressive. What an insanely, insanely impressive display from this kid. So 22 tanks down for Clem, 17 tanks down for ByuN. So he wins that tank count discrepancy. ByuN does. The legend is still a legend, still able to take down the young and up and coming hot kids, right? Kids who are on fire, the kids who are number one in Aligulac in 2021. ByuN can take them down. That's why we love. That's why we love StarCraft. The old versus the young, and sometimes the old still has it. Makes me feel good as someone who is old and much older than ByuN. So, good stuff. And the Raven production interference matrix was hugely important there. There's 4 Ravens out to 0 for Clem. Clem didn't really apparently go with the Ravens at all, and ByuN made 10 total in the game. So, and with 2 more on the way. So he really understands the importance of Ravens, interference matrix, and anti-armor missile. Huge in that final engagement. And he gets that win. So very, very good. And that's going to be it for me today. So this has been Falcon Paladin coming at you with yet another edition of StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void. Thank you so much for watching. You can catch me on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and Twitch, all at /Falcon Paladin. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you enjoyed the cast. And until next time, as always, thanks again for watching, and you take care of yourself.